When I was a kid, one of my favorite things to do was to take all the Lego pieces that I had and just try to do something new with it. There was a sense of novelty of me trying to put pieces together that don't go in the same set, just to later on destroy it and make something completely new. Because let's face it, in Lego it's about building your ideas after you completed what the set intended you to do. Kitbashing is a similar process to that, but in 3D, being able to create new concepts and ideas with pieces that you already have. And today we're going to use 5 different packs of assets, and we are going to create 5 new concepts for weapons. Spoiler, only one of these packs is designed for weapons, the others are not. And these are the packs. First one is the Firearms Pack, and this is a no-brainer, and it has everything you need. And there's a point where you kind of feel overwhelmed because the options are just so many. The scopes, the magazines, the handles, the chambers, the ammunitions. This was one of the hardest to start because when you have so many options, it's just so hard to just select the direction and just keep going. So what I did was just trying to select pieces that I like and try to bring it to the center and delete pieces that I knew that if I looked at them more, maybe I would have incorporated, but I thought, yeah, these pieces I'm not going to use, so I'll just delete them. And at this point, what I wanted to do was to decide what type of firearm I was going to do. So if I was going to do a rifle or a handgun, a shotgun, and I thought, okay, if I decide that it's going to be a handgun, then I'll just get rid of the other pieces that are not related to the handgun. So I would just filter and filter more pieces, and then I will get to the pieces that are most convenient. The great advantage that it has is that it doesn't have to make sense, but it does. What I mean is that these pieces are exactly made to be a certain part of the weapon. What I want to try to do is to put them in places that they shouldn't be, or just to play with them a little bit. So this weapon doesn't look just like a normal weapon, but has a little bit of originality. And as I said, this has to function like a weapon. It has to look like a weapon. This has to have the archetypal shape of a weapon. But if it's not, how would I say, functionally correct, I think we don't have any problem. There's a lot of guns in games that would never work in real life, and it depends on what type of gun. If it's a gun that it needs to be 100% in the real world, then I would probably change the way I'm doing this. But if you just need concepts for a gun, or just need like an idea roughly of how a gun would look like, then this is the best method I found. There was a point where I added a bolt and I thought it looked cool, and I was like, yeah, this makes it look like a real weapon, you know, like you put the cartridges there and then you just reload by moving the bolt. And I thought, great. And then I realized a little bit on, I put the rocket. I was not thinking, that is very interesting, because I was not thinking that you cannot put the rocket inside where the bolt is. So it's useless to have a bolt, or at least that's what my limited knowledge of guns told me. And then I thought about putting a magazine, but also it does not work with bolts. So I decided to just remove the bolt completely and just leave the magazine. I do think that in order to make something, you need to have at least a little bit of knowledge of how it works and of logic, in a sense. And I was very happy with the design. It looked not so far away from a normal gun, from a gun that would exist, but it looked fairly original. I mean, it was a pack of firearms, so it was obvious that at least it would have the form of one, and this was the easiest one. I just did some basic texturing, and I decided that this would be a gun that you would have in each of your hands. So I named it the Yin Yang Mark 1.
Bang bang, the yin yang's got the game, shooting bullets fierce, bringing fortune and fame.
Now we're going to the second kitbash. Bit of a mechanical sci-fi kitbash. Has a lot of joints and a lot of metal parts, intersections, and this was a little bit more abstract because now I didn't have precise gun parts, so, you know, imagination starts to kick here. I decided to start with the barrel, so I just grabbed pieces that look like a barrel and I just put them together the same as before, just filtering the pieces that I thought are interesting. Then I found these other pieces that I really liked. I thought it made like a good shape of a frame. I tried to put them together, but it just I didn't like how they looked. Once I managed to get a piece for the frame that looked sufficiently convincing in a little bit of complex forms, it started to take form and it looked heavy. So I just started to play with it. I put like this sight on top, and then I thought, well, if it's a heavy weapon, you don't really need a sight. Well, at least not the type of heavy weapon that I was having in my mind. So I proceeded. I added the part where the long ammunition goes. I didn't make that ammunition, but I thought that if I added the part, it would give the sensation of it. And then I thought the barrel was too big, so I decided to shrink it and to just duplicate it. Now it started to look like something really heavy. And now I started to really like how it was working. It didn't take long until after that I just pulled the trigger. I was done with it. I didn't even delete all the other parts. I just added some bolts and did a little bit of basic texturing. It was done. I added 2 ways of firing it. You could fire it from the top and from the bottom. I thought it was an interesting choice. I don't know how convenient is it, but I like how it looks. And this one is called the Slow Walker TK421, inspired by these characters from Star Wars Battlefront, and of course TK421 from the classic reference.
TK421, do you copy?
We get a little bit crazier. We go with bones. I found this skeleton on Sketchmap and I thought, yeah, why not? There have been bone weapons before, so I decided that I would give it a trick. I had a lot of thoughts in this one of just like, you know, I'll just make a wooden handle, or I will just add another thing. But I wanted to make it as pure as possible, if that's a word. I wanted to just use what I had in mind or add subtle, very tiny details. But I wanted to keep just in the kitbash. So I decided to just grab the spine and make the spine the main frame of the weapon. And then use the ribs as of some sort of weird contraptions on the side. You know, and this is the thing with design. If it looks good, then how it functions, it doesn't matter. If you just get caught between how it's going to work, you're not going to do anything. But if you start playing around with it, this is the perfect thing to just get some concept art and then refine the details, then maybe remesh it, do another model from scratch, and think how it would work. I also really wanted to do this curve, like this spine curve, so you could grab it from the spine. I thought it would be very nice. So I just added a curve with the spine, and I just made an array, and then I scaled the curve so that it would kind of end thinner. You know, there was a moment where I realized that I was making a gun with human bones, even though they were digital, and it felt kind of weird. So I decided to add animal parts too. I thought that would ease in the weirdness. I bought an old model I had saved. I don't know where I got it from, but it was free. And I just took the head and put it in front of the gun. I thought it added a little bit of a weird, nice thing. And I thought, well, who would use this gun? I was just thinking, because that's the thing also about concept art. You have to think of a story about what you are making, right? Because the story decides how it looks and why is it like that. You know, if I told you like a yellow duck is using this gun, you will probably be like, why would a yellow duck use this gun? But if I told you that this duck was actually making a deal with death and going to hell to rescue his loved one, and this is one of the guns like he gained while fighting death, then maybe that will make more sense. You know, at least it fits more the concept, you know, like weapons in Doom, everything has a way of being depending on where you see it, so think about the story. I tried to add some chains, but it just didn't feel right, and I didn't want to spend too much time. At the end, it was just a little exercise. So I just deleted it, made a little simple texture, and this was the end. This weapon is called the Lucy A1. In reference to Lucy, the astral particle that changed what we thought about humanity. Now we move to the kitchen utensils. And this, I thought this would be the hardest. And I think it was. But still, it was fun because I had to think, okay, I didn't have a lot of objects, and all of them had a very specific purpose. Soap, a bottle of wine, a bottle of oil, a pan. And I was like, okay, how can something like this even shoot? Like, what would it shoot?
Honestly, it's impossible.
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave!
I thought, a toaster, maybe something with a toaster, maybe would shoot bread? I thought, nah, toaster seems more like a reload mechanism. And then I saw the soap and I was like, yeah, that looks like a barrel. I'll start from there. If I don't start from somewhere, then I'm going to go nowhere. So once I started with the soap as a barrel, I just went onto it. You know, this reminds me a lot about these weapons from the cartoon Kids Next Door. And I think I was thinking about that, maybe unconsciously. And I think I had it in the back of my mind, these guns. So I just started putting things together. And in a few minutes, I had something that looked like it was purposefully made. I don't know by what or by who, but it was purposely made. I even added a bayonet in the front, you know. If we make references to real guns, then our guns will look more real or believable. Add some tape just to put everything together. I think it adds to the cohesiveness. This is the only thing I added. Well, I added several tapes, but just tape. I was disappointed of adding tape, but it was needed to make it feel more cohesive. I added a place where the user could see through. I added the kind of the handle where you hold it, and I thought this could be like a very heavy weapon, like a rocket launcher. How it works, I don't know, but it is powered by many things. Added some cans of probably power, and there it was.
That's badass.
But do you know what's cooler? You subscribing, so hit that subscribe button. Back to the video. I was tired at this point. I had 6 cups of coffee.
Coffee, where's the coffee? Hello, coffee? What happened to all the coffee?
We drank it all.
And I didn't know what to name it, so I named it Chef's Zuka.
Oh, it's a sight to see. The music's hot, it sets my soul free.
And the final one, bamboo. And this was the most interesting one because I had a few assets and everything was bamboo and almost everything looked the same, even though it was not. And I had to make a gun with it. I didn't know where to start. I thought, okay, we have these things that look like chambers. Let's do a revolver. So I went with that idea. And once you commit to that idea, it doesn't matter if it's gonna be very bad or very good. At least you are committed and you're gonna finish it. I was committed. I don't know how good or bad it would end, but I knew that I wanted to do a revolver. I knew that it had potential. You know, and I was also thinking during this process about who would make this. Just imagine, like, maybe in Japan or in China, somebody decided to make their own weapon. Maybe they had a plot of revenge against the emperor for recruiting their family into the war and losing them or something. And they thought, I don't have the technology that they have, but if I create something powerful, maybe I could have revenge. And then maybe he created this gun out of bamboo that probably didn't even work the same as a gun made out of metal. But, maybe the story is that person, even though it doesn't have the strongest firearm, it still does the job. Or maybe it fails drastically when he learns how to do other guns. I don't know. Just interesting to think about. Of course, I added a rope to this one. I thought it would add to the sense of cohesiveness. It also adds to the idea that it's not very technological. And it also adds to the concept of it being made like in the middle of the jungle or something. Handmade. I think it really adds it together. Of course, I can put metal nails or something other. It doesn't fit. So we have to think about that. We have to think about materials and how does it work in our world. Everything was looking pretty good. I was very happy. And for the trigger, I wanted to bend bamboo. I thought, well, people bend bamboo. It's one of the strongest materials, but it's also one of the most flexible. So I thought, yeah, why wouldn't I do that in this? So that's where I just put one to a curve, and I just added subdivisions and I bent it. And everything started to look better and better. Then at the end, added a little bit more ropes, added the plaits at the end, and it's done. This one's called Nobunaga's Wish. He was in Japan's Sengoku period. He was what we would call Lord, and I thought it would be a nice name. And we completed them. All of them. And these are all the results together. So there you go, 5 different new weapons. Which one was your favorite? If you kitbash something from these packs, you can also tag me on Instagram with a photo of it. I will be very happy to see it. I will link all the packs that I used in the description, so make sure to check that out. And remember, 3D is not just about following tutorials that tell you exactly what to do. It's about inspiration, limitations, and creativity. And if you're interested in how you might get inspired, you can watch this video or any other video from my channel. So thanks for sticking by and see you again next time. Bye!